Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Dr. Testosterone, starring Dr. George Toulianos, brought to you by his books, Bodybuilding, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, with a great overview of PEDs, how they're used, drug profiles, all the info you need for the basics on that. Then the follow-up, training, nutrition, supplementation in bodybuilding. Tells you how to put it all together, how to train right, eat right, put all those things together and you get a great physique. And I got to throw out one little quick plug, Real Bodybuilding, Muscle Truths from 25 years in the trenches. These are all available on Amazon.com. Please welcome from Athens, Greece, Dr. George Toulianos. Morning, doctor. Afternoon for you.
Hi, Ron. By the way, last week it was really nice, the interview with Samir, and was really successful, and the overall feedback from the viewers was really positive, you know. Everybody loves and respects Samir, and he's the old school, the old classic, you know, and it's very rare to have a Mr. Olympia in every in a podcast, you know.
Yeah, and you know what? I've been trying to get him on Ronline Report for at least 2 years, at least.
Really?
And he says, "Oh, I can't figure out my Skype, my computer, my this." But you know, for you, he figured it out. So you made it happen.
I'm his weakness, you know.
Maybe now I can get him. Now that you got him for me one time,
Yeah.
maybe now I'll be able to get him again. Yeah, great guy, and what a classic physique he had when he won the 1980s.
He's down to earth. He's realistic, you know.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Perhaps he's stuck in the romantic era, but this is not bad, you know, because I think the sport is losing control.
Yeah, you know what? If somebody wants to idealize the small waists and the beauty of the physique, there's nothing wrong with that. That's why we created classic physique. But let's talk real quick. Yesterday we had I think it's the last pro show before the Olympia, even though it qualifies for next year's Olympia.
Yeah.
Romania Muscle Fest in Bucharest, Romania. We had all the divisions were represented, but of course, open men, that's the one we were all looking forward to. And 13 men, pretty good lineup. Regan Grimes won. And you had a friend in the show, Greek bodybuilder, Chris Pistolas.
Yes.
And I saw a picture of him. I did not see the live stream, but Chris looked really good. He's got a great physique. And, I just want to put this out there because sometimes the people, they just look at the score sheet and they see, well, this guy was last, or this guy was 8th out of 12th, or this guy, they might think this guy's no good, but they don't understand. These guys are the best. These guys are incredible.
Yeah. It was his third show. He's approaching now next year. He's 30 years old. So he's more mature than ever. He made major improvements in his back, in his upper chest, you know, his weaknesses. Yeah. And he was heavier and bigger than ever. He was between 235 and 240 on stage, you know. Wow. Good conditioning, but perhaps related to the conditioning of 2018 that he was really shredded, ultra shredded. He was lacking perhaps in his hams. But he had the best muscle maturity I've ever seen of him, you know, and the muscle detail. Now, it was a tough lineup. The top six, the first call out was mass monsters. And of course, it was Leon Abeyeki who was top six, finishing top six, and he had so much, you know, class and quality. You know, he was an Olympia competitor, you know.
Yeah.
And also, we have to tell that the last week, perhaps the last 10 days, 2 weeks actually, of his preparation was, was off the gym, you know. So it was during quarantine restriction period. So this is a nerve-wracking, you know, stressful time. And besides, there was a risk perhaps of the show to be postponed, you know.
Yeah.
Due to the COVID. Actually, in Romania there was a quarantine, you know.
Oh.
So it was pretty messy, yes, and it was a hard time.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think he should earn from every experience he gets, you know. Try to improve, and perhaps he needs to be a step further in terms of size and keeping the same conditioning. Even a slight kick to be more cut, you know.
Yeah.
In order to crack top 10.
Judging these shows, it's very hard because it is objective. It's not subjective, but you could even compare it to something like you followed track at the Olympics for years, right?
It's way different than being live, okay, from a screen and be there from the front seats, you know.
Yeah.
It's totally different, like watching a soccer game or a basketball game, you know.
Yeah, and I usually do sit right next to the judges, or right behind the judges, I should say. So I'm seeing their perspective, and these guys are so good. It's a very hard thing for these judges.
Well,
a very hard job.
Last decade, I mean, we used to have Mike Kay, who was competing three years in an Olympia stage, you know, 2009, 2010, and 2012. And I mean, he looked phenomenal when he was in Greece, in his own room, in his own gym, you know. But next, perhaps to Ronnie Winkler, he was like a kid. So it is subjective in a way, but we have to take it this way because you don't judge somebody on his own. He has to stand next to the others, you know. So perhaps you are in your best, but you're unfortunate to be with 5 Olympia competitors, you know. So perhaps you could be smooth and have a lousy competitor list, you know, and be lucky, you know. So it's not exclusive that if you are on your best, it depends on the lineup always.
Yeah. And I mean, once, you know, we've been to Olympias, we've been to Arnold's. Once you get to the top 5 of the Arnold and Olympia, they look, every single one of those guys in the top 5 or 6 looks amazing. And it's the judges have such a hard job to decide this guy deserves to be first, second, third, fourth, because everyone has their own preferences.
Well, size doesn't matter always when you speak of guys about Phil Heath or Dexter Jackson, because they have another class of quality and definition and separation, you know.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something. The first Arnold Classic I was presented last March, I watched the finalist was Lenarkovic. And I have to tell you, his conditioning was off. So that's why he got this. I mean, he was exceptional in matters of size and fullness.
Yeah.
But he was last because of his conditioning, you know. Water retention mainly because of the trip from Australia.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I guess there are some details in matters of conditioning. Of course, if somebody is 250 and the other guy is 220, in order to be 220 and beat, you have to be 3% body fat, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to say I'm worried about these guys coming to the Olympia from outside the USA, but I think they all have to quarantine in like Mexico for 2 weeks. They're gonna have to do a lot more traveling and rearranging and trying to figure out how to keep training and eating those last 2 weeks than the guys who are living in America. So they might be at a little disadvantage because of that. I hope not. That's not fair. But
Ari Schupan last year remained in the States for 1 month, coming from Persia, from 24 hours trip, you know. Yeah. So it's different.
Kamal El Gardni, the 212 champion, he's been in Florida since I think August. He's been here a long time. He didn't want to take any chances of not being able to get over here.
This is smart, yes.
Yeah, because I don't know if UK is going to be able to travel. They have a lockdown right now. I don't know if they can travel to US.
No, I mean, the borders, as far as I know, are closed for European citizens.
Yeah, scary times. Well, while we were talking to Samir Bannout, we got plenty of questions from people that still wanted all their questions answered from you. So let's get to them. Here we go, doctor. Number 1, is it possible to use HCG instead of testosterone for TRT purposes? Doesn't HCG make the body produce more testosterone? If so, I believe it'd be more preferable for men in order to maintain fertility. And what would be the dosage? So can you use HCG for TRT?
Well, nothing beats testosterone, and testosterone actually has more benefits because it can also produce estradiol, it can lubricate the joints, it can make more DHT, serotonin, dopamine, you know, has many effects, nitric oxide. Now, HCG is indeed something that can be replaceable of testosterone. The point is monotherapy of HCG will shut off gonadotropins, just like testosterone, of course. But the point is we'll elevate also estrogens, and perhaps HCG is a good way in order to avoid testicular shrinkage, and because it produces intratesticular testosterone and ejaculation volume and semen volume, in other words.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a good idea to use prolonged use of HCG. Perhaps you're gonna desensitize your LH receptors, but still you can use HCG along with testosterone in small doses in order to avoid testicular shrinkage and fertility failure.
Gotcha. And then there was a question right after that that's almost the same question. Is HCG monotherapy effective enough to treat secondary hypogonadism?
No. I just said in secondary hypogonadism, you have the shut off of gonadotropins. So HCG will further, I mean, it downregulates the LH and the FSH because it's a gonadotropin releasing hormone analog. So no, I don't think it works. It cannot be reversed. No.
Gotcha. Okay.
In that case, you need testosterone, of course.
Here's a long question. I'm surprised you didn't skip this question because this is a long one. I have a very important question for Dr. T. Doc, you say that during PCT, HCG and serms should not be used together and should be used in low doses. I used to blast them. Then I decided to leave steroids and did my PCT with HCG and clomid together. HCG 2,000 IU every other day, and clomid 50 milligrams daily for a total of 4 weeks. My test levels were around 700 during my PCT, but a few weeks after it came down to 350, and I was feeling crazy and having sexual issues, so I started taking testosterone again. Since then, I'm cruising on tests. I want to ask, if I do PCT the way you suggest with HCG first and low dose serms later, would I be able to maintain better test levels naturally later after the PCT?
But generally speaking, we have to know that a PCT, in order to be successful, it has to be followed of a good lifestyle afterwards. And if it remains your elevated levels, it depends also on how you live. I mean, it's multifactorial, but sometimes it remains there. As Connor says, we just don't know why it falls. But I guess it has to be also with the lifestyle, the way you sleep, what your supplements you take, if you train properly, if you take other substances that lower testosterone. I have doubled natural testosterone levels with PCT to somebody who was training, in track athletics. But other times it doesn't work, and after a month they feel this downhill.
Mm.
Now, according to my perspective, HG and serms are counterproductive one to other. However, they both elevate testosterone, but through a different pathway, which is counterproductive one to the other. So the HG shadows off the brain but kicks the testicles, while the serms kick the brain, and afterwards then it's elevation of testosterone through that. I follow this protocol since 2015 in my patients, and I have to tell you that over 50% they were successful. Oh, wow. Okay, few of them managed to double their testosterone, and I guess because they never ring me again, they didn't have the need to. Okay, so they remained there.
Excellent. Yeah, it's good. If you don't hear from me, everything must be fine. Okay, here's a good one. Dr. T, from your experience, how much can hard training the day before a blood test increase AST and ALT liver enzymes? I had AST and ALT about 60, with high end of reference being 40. All other liver markers were good on the low end of the range. Ultrasound has shown no NAFL. I'm on TRT only, healthy diet, and take NAC, milk thistle, etc. I just heard one doctor say any high enzymes should be a big concern, as liver damage can occur without higher AST and ALT.
Well, listen, this is, of course, outrageous, the last comment. But in order to clarify for further damage, you have to measure GGT, which is gamma glutaminotransferase, and refers to intrahepatic damage and cholestasis, along with lactate dehydrogenase, which refers to cellular damage, and alkaline phosphatase, which is also cholestatic enzyme. But anyhow, ALT and AST elevate, of course, after rigorous exercise with leg training. They can go up to 800 or 900.
Wow!
And if you follow a heavy, cardio after that, so if you train over 2 hours, you can reach 1,000. But this is quite reversible, and we have to understand that liver, skeletal muscle, and myocardium, all three tissues possess the same receptors for ALT and AST transaminases. So it doesn't mean because they elevate that you have a heart attack or you have a liver damage. They interact with each other. So in order to clarify elevated ALT from AST and liver damage, you have to check out GGT and ALT. And in order to clarify from acute myocardial infarction, you have to calculate CKMB, okay, and troponin. So some physicians who are advanced, and experienced, they can clarify between these.
Yeah. Would you recommend taking time off training, any time off before?
Well, yes. But I want to be realistic. I want to see under realistic circumstances what happens. Yeah. Of course, I tell them to hydrate more in order to lower perhaps the urea and dilute the plasma and have perhaps a lower hematocrit. But let's see what happens when you train legs, for instance. If it's 500, it's no big deal. And frankly, liver enzymes below 3 digital is not something to consider if you speak now to a pathologist who works shifts now and he's reasonable. If you have 100 and above, then you have to dig up and see what the problem, the cause is. But 60, 70, 90, can elevate even from painkillers, you know.
Wow. Yeah, and a lot of people are on those. What is the safest compound to use on a TRT dose of testosterone for a very long time? Proviron or Deca? Which one would you use with
It's
testosterone?
Sterlin, it's Proviron, okay? Even though it's a pill, it's not something related, but Deca, perhaps it can lower the HDL more than Proviron. Now, Proviron is used, of course, 1 or 2 pills. Now, Deca, if somebody uses 100 milligrams, I guess in the long term, it might slightly decrease the HDL and elevate also hematocrit. Mind that also.
Nobody uses 100. Trust me, nobody.
Yeah, and also Proviron would not elevate dramatically the hematocrit as Deca does. That treats anemia, you know. But Deca is something really useful in TRT, but in small doses, you know, in order to lubricate the joints. And perhaps in the long term, some accumulative effect will have anti-catabolic result.
Yeah, because you've said that like 50 or 100 milligrams of Deca a week is plenty for the joint lubrication, right?
Yes, and avoids also catabolic effect, you know.
Yeah.
See it this way, the negative way, you know.
Yeah.
Not the positive anabolic, but to reverse catabolism.
Right, because I mean, most guys are running 4 or 5.
Well, this is heavy cycling. It's not with TRT.
That's low. That's, you know, I know guys are doing a gram or more of Deca a week along with, you know, a gram of test. And oh boy, okay. Hey doctor, I can't get good Proviron. Can I use a small dose of Winstrol during PCT to prevent serms from raising my SHBG too much?
No, I would suggest to use danazol or injectable Proviron in a way. So it's drostanolone, which is masterone, and it's also synthetic DHT, and perhaps primobolan. This is the best choice. It's also more anabolic than masterone, which is also synthetic DHT. Now, Anavar would be a better choice than Winstrol because it's less liver toxic also.
Gotcha.
And Winstrol will crash your HDL, will boost your LDL, so, and also will crack your aldosterone, and then you have cracky joints, you know.
Gotcha. Cracky joints. Those are the worst. I know you've answered this so many times, but recommendation for a dosage of HGH for a well-trained male, hard training for over 45 years. God bless you, sir. 61 years old. All labs are normal. TRT for at least 9 years. 100 milligrams every 10 days. Wow, that's it. Puts me at 30 to 35 nmol, combined with 30 to 60 milligrams nandrolone and 1 blast cutting cycle per year. I guess so, 1 blast and 1 cutting cycle for 12 to 16 weeks. Oh, okay. He must blast and cut in the same cycle, I'm guessing. So he's currently using 2 IUs of GH in the morning only. Should he stick with that, or would you add anything to that?
No, 2 IUs are good.
Okay, 2 IUs. Yeah, I mean, 61 years old. I think 2 IUs would be great for you, right? Because for anti-aging, 2 to 4 IUs a day is perfect.
Yeah,
right?
4 is for fat burning, you know, to get cut, but don't go up over 4, you know, 2 and 2 or 4 at once.
Okay. Next one, for prostate enlargement, which is worse, high DHT or high estrogen? One study suggests that DHT cream seems to reduce prostate volume, but the majority of doctors prescribe finasteride. What's the truth?
Well, finasteride works the first 6 months, but afterwards, because finasteride elevates estrogens, because you have testosterone, you have the 2 metabolites, DHT and E2. When you use finasteride, which is 5-alpha reductase inhibitor, you block the DHT metabolization and then the elevation of E2. Now, the prostatic proliferation tissue occurs on high estradiol. That's why hypogonadic men who never touch testosterone and have BPH is because of the high estrogens. So the worst scenario would be elevated estrogens and low testosterone. When testosterone DHT ratio is elevated and estrogens are up, it's not bad. But when there is a dominance of estrogens, then this is the bad case scenario. Okay, now there are some very open-minded and progressive doctors like Morgenthaler who believes that testosterone does not create, not only does not create cancer, but also some doctors treat BPH with DHT because it has an estrogenic effect. But we have to know that, of course, there's no direct link between testosterone and prostate cancer. Some doctors believe that BPH is the result of DHT, but also we have to know that also estrogens are a villain and a factor to elevate the prostate and also leading to cancer too. Wow. And it's about the ratio between androgens and estrogens also, you know?
Yeah.
So low androgens is not cool. When you have, that's why the wave of the aromatase inhibitor people don't understand that having elevated estrogens may elevate your PSA. It's not just a matter of testosterone. Apart from the other issues of high estrogens, which is, of course, foggy mind, faking bloating, perhaps depressed, poor erection, pre-thrombotic, the estrogens. And you have to know that breast cancer, both in men and women, is estrogen related.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, imagine being a man with breast cancer. That would just be rough.
It is very rare, but if you open up the testosterone closed paper, it shows indications that do not use it under breast cancer in men, which is quite rare, but it happens,
Next one. Dr. T, is a good idea for women who take letrozole due to breast cancer, I didn't plan this, to use cardioprotective and bone protective supplementation. Talking about omega-3, krill oil, Q10, L-citrulline, magnesium, vitamin D, vitamin K2, polyphenols, bergamot juice. What else do you suggest?
I would say resveratrol and polycosanol and phytosterols and red rice yeast.
It's a lot of stuff to take, man. Oof, okay. Next one. Here's a good one. Anadrol. Anadrol comes in 50 milligram pills. Is it because it's really less potent than other oral steroids that come in 10 milligram pills? Or is it just manufactured at a higher dose for some reason?
No, this is funny. Now, actually, it's manufactured by pharmacists, and this was the dose to treat aplastic anemia. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, pharmaceutical grade Winstrol and Anavar comes in 2 or 5 milligrams, perhaps.
Yeah.
Now, the other doses are underground. 10 milligrams, 50 milligrams of Winstrol is not something official, but that the doctors used. Okay. Now, of course, it's not a point because it comes in 50. It's innocent. It's really toxic, and the old school drugs, as Samir said, Andro was the worst. Halotestin also is a step further. Now we have M3, which is methyltrianolone, which is also more potent. But Anadrol perhaps is number 3, and it used to be number 2 in the past. It's really toxic. But perhaps you can say that 50 milligrams contribute to that. So if you take 25, it would be less the harsh on the liver. But don't mess with that, and 50 milligrams are enough. Some guys use 400 milligrams.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing is because we have so many underground versions of Anadrol. I've seen many, and they all, I think I've never seen one that wasn't 50. They always make them because people expect it to come in a 50 milligram dose. But I'm thinking, why didn't anyone ever come out with 25s or 20s or, so then you could take them throughout the day instead of the 50, you got to chop it. You got to cut it with a pill splitter or bite it with your teeth and take half today and half later in the day. And it's very strange. I think it was just tradition or something. People got in the habit. Yeah. Okay. Another Proviron question. They say high androgens are toxic for the body. Does this apply to Proviron as well? No,
Proviron is a mild androgen, mild anabolic. And I would say not high androgens are really bad only because they're responsible for some classic characteristics like elevated hematocrit, enlarged prostate, hair thinning, rage, but also some really potent anabolics like Winstrol, Anavar, oxymethylone, dianabol, trembolone are really harsh also, so it's not exclusive like high androgens. High androgens perhaps are classic bad for the mood, and some other characteristics of the androgens like main pattern baldness or androgenic alopecia, benign prostatic hypertrophy, and of course erythrocytosis.
The Proviron, the worst thing that's probably going to happen to you from taking Proviron is hair loss, right?
Yes, hair loss and nothing else. Ron, I've been using Proviron to AM and PM, and my HDL is 45 because I increased my cardio.
And look at that hair. Like I always say, wow. Did the men in your family, no one was bald, I'm guessing? Nobody?
No?
Yeah, because I'm losing my hair here, but every man in my family, everyone, even the ones who've never heard the word steroid, they all have the same spot. So,
but there are guys who never touch steroids. In the 30s, they are bald.
Oh yeah, I mean, I went to high school with kids that were, by the time they were 18, I could tell
Really?
they were already starting. It was already starting to recede their hair at 18 years old, and and then I go to see the reunions and they're completely bald, of course. Doctor, training questions. We don't get too many of those, even though if you guys go to Instagram, Dr. George Tsouliatos There's actually a lot of workout tips now because Doc is at home. The gyms are all closed in Greece again. He's got all kinds of equipment at home, and he's doing.
I invested about 1.5K getting some equipment because I was really naive in the first quarantine.
Yeah, we all thought it was going to last like a week. Everything will be back to normal in a week or two. What's the heaviest dumbbell? I saw you doing rows with the dumbbell. Look pretty big.
It's 90 pounds.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's plenty to get the job done. During quarantine. The heaviest one I had here was a set 270s, and that was plenty.
It's not available heavier than that,
Oh, I mean, dude, when the quarantine was at its peak, you couldn't find any. People were getting so much. A 30-pound dumbbell was selling for $150. It was ridiculous. Yeah. Oh, people are terrible. So this guy wants to know, what do you think the best overall method for calf muscle mass? How do you make the calves grow?
You have to stimulate the two main compartments of the calf. Now, the gastrocnemius that needs the standing calf raises when the knee is extended fully. But when the knee is bent 90 degrees, you stimulate the soleus that lies beneath. Soleus was the secret of the calf development of Dorian, of Branch, and of Jay. So it starts growing from the ankle, and gives this overall, it's not the skinny calf of the black guys that have a large gastrocnemius.
Yeah.
Because it's genetic. But the white men, the Caucasians, have a huge soleus, and so the overall calf bone, the tibia and the fibula, are built from the ankle, from below, from lower. Yeah. And of course, perhaps you can stimulate also the tibialis anterior. So you have to do either walk downhill, in order to it's kind of break because you elevate your
heel,
your ankle joint. Yes, you don't flex it. Right. And it's the muscle that covers the tibia on the front,
Yeah, you can do that on the leg extension machine with just your feet. You sort of roll them up, you know what I mean? If that makes any sense. So the only thing moving is your foot on the
yes.
pad.
Yes.
But yeah, who has the best calves? Asian people have the best calves, I think.
Asian? Europeans, Caucasian. The white tribe,
Have you seen these Koreans bodybuilders though? Woo, the legs and the calves, they're amazing.
Flex Lewis, of course, because he's short.
Yeah.
Packed.
It's the length of the muscle. It's, how low does it insert? Like Flex's, it's Dorian, Jay Cutler, their calves insert very, very low, almost at the ankle, way down there.
Because of the soleus, Ron, it's because of the soleus,
Soleus, yeah.
The seated calf raise.
Do your seated calf raises, people. I see a lot of seated calf raises empty at the gym.
If you sit on a chair and you ask your girlfriend to sit on your knee.
Yeah, especially if she's a big girl. You can get some big calves. Okay.
And the donkey calf raises stimulate the soleus,
Right. Yeah, like because the old pictures.
Flexed, the knee's flexed.
Yeah, in the old days, like you see the pictures of Arnold, and he'd have like 3 guys on his back doing them at the gym.
Franco, another 2.
Yeah. Okay, next one is, I've been training for about 2 years now. I'm on TRT and run a cycle here and there. I find when I'm on a cycle, I train with much more intensity, and I can't wait to get to the gym. Off cycle, I'm losing steam. Instead of 5 days a week, I'm at 2 to 3 days of training. My diet starts slipping. It's hard to get motivated. Any advice on keeping up with the regimen? I understand it's all mindset, but how do you guys stay motivated?
Listen, you have to love bodybuilding no matter if you're on gear or not. It's a 365 lifestyle. It's not when you blast and you get juiced. It's a mindset, of course. I had also trouble when I was off because TRT is something different. You don't have flaws on your hormones. But I guess a good idea is to watch the Rocky films.
Yeah. Well, there's so much. You have YouTube now. When I was a kid, it was like VHS tapes, but you guys all have YouTube. You can put those Machiavelli motivation tapes on. You can watch MD training videos. There's so many things you can get motivated. But yeah, the Rocky movies.
As Arnold said, the mind is a stronger muscle.
Yeah. But the Rocky movies, the training montages right before the fight at the end, those are always
the final bell. The final bell is really sentimental,
That was the best part of those movies. Some more lab questions. I just got my labs and my PSA is 4.7. The normal range is below 2. 7 months ago, it was 0.6. Since then, I did 250 milligrams of test, 200 milligrams DECA every week along with half a pill of Dostonex every 5 days. The last 20 days and for the 3 months that will follow, I'm just on 125 milligrams test every week and 2,000 IU of HCG every 3.5 days in order to restore my sperm count alongside with the antibiotic Tabrin, 200 milligrams of floxin, because I did a spermodiagram and my sperm count was just 15 million, 1% normal spermatozoons, oh my gosh, and 2.5 million pus particles. Do I have to worry about the high PSA, or is it just a cause of HCG, pus, and DECA? I don't know what PUS is. My bad. PUS,
So,
pus.
POS?
No, it says PUS, like the word pus, but
Pus means dead cells, dead
okay.
white blood cells. Is the
Okay.
the yellowish yucky part in an
Gross.
infection, you know.
Yeah. Well, I know that's pus. I don't know what he's talking about. Anyway, so his question is.
So PSA can elevate
PSA.
also if you ride a bike for a long time, you know. If you have sex, if you have prostatitis, you know, prostatitis can be the result of having anal sex, and then E. coli can go through your penis, you know, and affect the prostate. Yeah, if you have anal sex with a woman, you know, that's why you have to pee afterwards, you know. Now, I don't know, what about his estrogens? Are they elevated? It doesn't say.
Doesn't say anything about his estrogen levels. No, he's worried about his sperm count for some reason.
Now, his sperm count is borderline low, you know, 50 million or 20 million, you know.
Yeah.
In order to elevate this, he can use some HMG, which is the best thing. And to improve motility, he can use some vitamin E tocopherol at high dose, perhaps some zinc that helps the prostatic fluid. And for the PSA, he has to rerun this in case he doesn't have prostatitis. So if you take antibiotics and you have prostatitis, the PSA lowers. Stop having sex for 3 days, or riding a bike, you know, bicycle, stationary bicycle. Repeat it. And I have to tell you that DECA metabolized to the hydronandrol, which is less potent than DHT, you know. So DECA is less harsh on the prostate rather than the DHT derivatives, for instance, Primo, Winstrol, Anavar, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, consult a urologist in case he has to use 5-reductase inhibitors like finasteride or dutasteride, you know.
Cool. Okay, I got a good question for the very last question, because we like to talk about old school bodybuilding and the way things were done back then. So this guy says, there's an old article by Mike Mentzer claiming use of 200 to 400 milligrams a week of DECA and up to 5 D-ball per day as his cycle. Yet others speculate, Casey Viator apparently was one of them, that he was using over a gram a week of nandrolone. Surely no one in their right mind would use that much DECA without test. An AI and CABA, right? What's your take on steroid choices to build a classic physique in today's era? Perhaps low dose tests ran with high dose anabolics. So first of all, do you think someone like Mentzer used a gram a week of DECA back in those days?
I don't know. Samir said it was his favorite, but I cannot say about the doses.
Right.
Arnold also used Primo and Dianabol and perhaps testosterone. You know, I don't understand why some people believe that just using anabolics and not androgens will favor the muscle gains. You know, also the androgens are anabolic, and especially testosterone is capable of giving you strength, burning the fat, you know, and lubricating the joints, giving you this mindset. So why to be better to use just DECA? Why instead of DECA and testosterone? I don't find it reasonable, you know.
Yeah. I mean, what would happen?
If it's a woman, yes, but why not in men? Why?
I did a show with O'Connor maybe 2 years ago, a year or two, because there is a group of people out there who believe in DECA for TRT, and they swear
No way. We said that before. I mean, nothing antagonizes testosterone.
Yeah.
DECA is synthetic derivative of testosterone, you know. Testosterone, it has zero effect on the lipids, on the liver. It produces DHT and estradiol. Nothing is comparable to testosterone. It's a natural familiar hormone. Come on.
Yeah. Well, the second part of the question, I think, was, I don't want to say silly. I don't like to make, you know, we appreciate all your questions and everything, but to think that there's
Cannot
one.
speculate.
We don't speculate, but to think that there's one, this is a steroid dose of a men's physique competitor, this is a steroid dose of a bodybuilder.
You explain that in the Samir interview, because it doesn't mean you're a lousy, you know, how you say, lazy bastard and you use 1 gram, doesn't mean that Ronnie Coleman, if he uses this 1 gram, will be 10 times as big as you.
Yeah. And I mean, I've talked to people from all different divisions, and I know that similar cycles are used by almost everybody. It's not like the open guys do this. Maybe they do more because they're much larger. They're 250, 270-pound guys. But people will ask me, well, the classic guys are natural and the men's physique guys are natural, right? I'm like, no, they're not natural. Are you crazy?
But claiming that Chris Bum has to use over 1 gram of test is not something smart, because if he adds too much muscle, he'll have problem to remain in the class weight.
Yeah.
Thinking about this, they have a limit.
Right. He's
unless
also,
he wants to move to the open class, you know.
Yeah. But he's been very transparent. He's been very honest about what he uses at times, and it's very low.
But it's not better to them because they have limitations. Come on.
Right. Right. Yeah. So that makes sense. Well, doctor, that's all our questions for this week. And yeah, you're doing a great job over there with your home workouts out in the sunshine by your pool. It actually looks like way better than the gym. Although it's, you got no atmosphere, you got no people to look at. It's quite
an investment, and I don't think afterwards, why you're going to have this equipment, sell it or keep it for, not out of the quarantine, but perhaps for the days off of the holidays.
Yeah. I mean, I had a little home multi-gym. And as soon as the gym's open, the thing where you can do like pull downs and bench press and, we called them a multi-gym. Yeah. And my wife made me take it apart and throw it in the trash once the quarantine was over.
Really?
And now I'm worried because we might get another lockdown again here.
Actually, I heard that Oregon and New Mexico are starting quarantines.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's going to be.
And Biden will make obligatory the mask from the January 20th when he starts his administration.
Wow.
Outdoors also.
That's so ridiculous.
The vaccine comes, actually. This is good news.
Yeah.
And the vaccine will be released in January.
I don't think everyone's going to take the vaccine, though.
Actually, in order to reach the immunity of the people, 50% of the population everywhere has to take it.
Wow. I don't know. I think we'll probably get 50% of people to take it, but are you going to take it?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know yet, but number one, it's not going to be obligatory for everybody, but people who work in public industries, people who work police, fire department, etc., ambulance and doctors, nurses, of course. And number 3, over 65 with underlying diseases.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna wait and see.
This covers a fragment of the population. I don't know if it's 50%, but I believe 50%, along with the immunity that people already have from natural sources of the COVID getting infected, will be fair enough to exclude any case of quarantine again.
Yeah, we need to take care. We need to get this thing under control. Come on, guys. The Arnold Classic's coming up March. I want everything normal by the Arnold. Let's do this, guys. All right, doctor, that's it. Thank you so much. I want to let everyone know, do we still have Dr. T Tuesday tomorrow?
I'll think about it. Yeah, I'll send something to Jennifer.
Okay. So this is airing on Tuesday, guys. That is Dr. T Tuesday on musculardevelopment.com. That's when we post this video. And Dr. T usually honors us with a fresh new article for the website. We usually link it right here to the video, so you can go right from here to there. Leave your comments, your questions below. We'll get to most of them next time. We don't answer all of them, guys, because we're getting a lot of questions. But we do answer most of them. I should say the doctor answers most of them. Thank you, doctor. Your knowledge, your expertise, it's very, very much appreciated.
We're approaching number 90, yeah?
Yeah, this was 89. Was this number 89, I think? Yeah, this is 89. So... yeah, guys, if you like these videos, please subscribe, please hit like, please share them on your social media. Let's get the word out there because, this is an amazing thing to have a medical doctor who's...
I had a response from Michael Hearn that after the release of his movie, he will be our guest.
Oh, wow.
And perhaps, but we shouldn't speak about drugs, of course.
No. Okay, so
also Bill Welling is another option.
Get me Big Rami. Let's get Rami on.
With a translator.
He actually speaks a lot more English now.
I'm kidding. Yeah, he's good.
When I first met him, he spoke like one word of English back in 2013. Now he can have a conversation. So good for him, because I still don't speak Arabic. Yeah. All right, doctor. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Ask Dr. Testosterone. We'll see you next time.